video we're going to explore jazz chords, specifically what I call Django Reinhart chords, or you could call them hot club chords. Django Reinhart had an injury related to a fire that he was in as a child, and his third and fourth fingers were almost kind of grafted together, and he didn't have a lot of mobility and couldn't really straighten them out. In fact, when he played solos, he just used 2 fingers. But when he played chords, he played with 3 fingers, and he rarely played bar chords. Instead, he played chords that have only the 3 lowest notes of the guitar. In other words, I'm not playing any of the higher sounding strings. I'm playing only the 3 lowest strings. And I'm not playing any bar chords. Each finger is on its tip. Okay, so the first chord we're going to learn is an A7. A7 has your first finger pressing down on the 4th fret of the A string. That's a C sharp. Next it has the second finger playing 5th fret on the low E string. That's an A, that's the root of the chord. And then you've got your third finger playing on the 5th fret on the D string. That's the 7th. That's a G. Okay, so we've got 3 notes we're playing there. Okay, you're going to want to avoid strumming the 3 highest strings. We're not even going to touch those strings at all. We're just playing the 3 lowest strings. So this is a 3-note chord. Okay, in a lot of 20s and 30s jazz, you have just straight quarter notes that are staccato. In other words, you're going to strum the 3 notes of this chord, then you're going to let go of the chord, and so your fingers, they're no longer pressing down the strings. They just relaxed, and so the vibration of the string disappears. So you press down and play, then you let go. Then you press down and play, then you let go. Okay, this same effect can also be achieved by chopping with your right hand. So in other words, you play the chord and you take your right hand and you simply stop the strings with the side of your hand. Okay, so another important thing to learn is both of these techniques at the same time. So in other words, you're going to play the chord, and when your left hand relaxes and lets go of the strings, your right hand chops off the vibration of the strings. So you're actually letting go of the vibration of the string with both hands. The left hand and the right hand both are stopping the chord. Just practice that for a minute. Play the chord and then stop the sound. Okay, once you got it, then the next thing to do is to start working your way up the fretboard. So we'll play the A7 4 times. Okay, now relax your fingers and keep the fingers in the same position, because we're just going to move that chord 1 fret higher, then press it down again. Okay, now it's important when you're learning this move that you keep the fingers in the position. You don't want to take all the fingers off and then set each one back in. That takes too long. You might miss. So what you want to do is keep all the fingers just lightly touching the string, and then just slide up just by grazing the string, just as lightly as a feather. So practice that. Just move the hand up and down the strings, just glazing along the string gently without even squeezing. That's how you move this chord around. You don't ever take your fingertips off the string. You don't ever want to have your fingers out of contact with the string. Okay, let's start over. So here's our A chord on the 4th and the 5th frets. Now Now gently slide up 1 fret and play this next chord. It's a B flat chord. Then slide up 1 fret again. Then slide up 1 fret again. Okay, then we'll start over. So we'll go back to the 4th and 5th frets on our A7 chord and we'll begin again. Now slide up 1 fret. This is a B flat chord. Slide up 1 fret. This is a B chord. Slide up 1 fret. This is a C chord. Good. Now let's learn some other shapes that are also jazz chords that are movable. Let's take a variation of the shape that you've learned. So with this A7 chord that you've just played, if you take your 3rd finger, which is your ring finger, and you move it 1 fret up, you've got a completely different sounding chord. This is A major 7. Okay, so I'll review this chord with you one more time. I've got my 1st finger on the 4th fret of the A string. I've got my 2nd finger pressing down on the 5th fret on the low E string. And I've got my 3rd finger, this time in a new location, on the 6th fret on the D string. I've only got 3 fingers on the fretboard. I'm only going to play those 3 strings, just the 3 strings my fingers are on. No open strings. That's called A major 7. Okay, let's practice strumming the chord and then letting go of the chord. Then strum the chord, then let go. Then press it down, then let it go. Try to get absolute silence between each chord. So no ringing notes. Cut off all the sound. That's basically done with your right hand, your strumming hand. Okay, now let's move it. So we're going to continue to go up the fretboard just like we did in the last exercise. So we're starting with our root note on the 5th fret. Now slide up 1 fret higher. This is a B flat major 7. Slide up 1 fret again. This is a B major 7. Slide up 1 fret again. That's a C major 7. Starting over. Good, let's move on. Let's explore one more chord shape. Okay, this chord shape is similar to the one that we started with, except we're going to move one of the fingers. And the finger we're going to move is finger 1, although it's too hard to play with this fingering. We're going to have to rearrange the fingers. Let's start by playing 1st finger, A string, fret 3. Then, this time it's going to be 3rd finger on the 5th fret, low E. There's our root note. And now the pinky finger, 5th fret on the D string. My middle finger is not playing any notes at all. Okay, this time we have a 2 fret span between the fingers, so this is quite a stretch. We never would have been able to do it with the old fingering from the 1st chord. It's just too hard. This fingering is much more comfortable. Okay, so we have, let's review. 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret. If this was tablature, it would say 5, 3, 5. Or in music theory, this is A, the root, C, the minor third, G, the minor 7. Okay, that gives us a A minor 7 chord. You know what to do. Squeeze the chord, then let go. Okay, now let's move it up the fretboard 1 fret at a time, just like we've been practicing. Here we go. Now slide up 1 fret. Slide up 1 fret. Always important to relax your hand when you slide up. Okay, now a lot of students will ask me, how do you get rid of the squeak sound that's in there? Okay, the squeak sound is a part of all guitar playing. It's almost impossible to eliminate it fully. But one way that you can greatly reduce it is slide along the strings even more gently. Now if you're applying a little pressure when you slide, you get a lot of squeak. If you're just gliding along the strings gently, it's hardly noticeable. Now the worst kind of squeaks come from pressing down a chord and then immediately moving. If you don't let go of the chord, you might get a nasty squeak sound. So to eliminate that, you have to let go of the fingers, let go of the chord, then slide. The squeak will be greatly reduced. Okay, let's practice these chords again. So we're starting on A minor 7. See if you can get just a little tiny bit of squeak, but not very much at all. To completely eliminate the squeak, you'd have to take your fingers off the strings. I don't recommend that. You might lose the chord formation. You want to keep those fingers on the strings and touch the strings while you move. That way you won't mess up the chord formation. Good. That's been your introduction to jazz chords.